Hello and welcome to the Cranky-Faced Reader. I am going to be reading weird, frequently semi-erotica books, mostly just bad ones that I really need to share with somebody else, much like puns. They are better when shared. And I'm going to learn how to do editing and how to read without my brain exploding too much, although maybe that's part of the fun. How do bloggers do this? I don't even know. This will be the first part of the Eternal Craving by Nina Bangs. It is the Gods of the Night series. You can find this on Amazon. I don't know if there are any in print anymore. From what I recall when it was being discussed at the Vaginal Fantasy group over at Goodreads, Ms. Bangs was having some issues. Her publisher went under, and she was working on getting the rights for reprinting, etc. I know there is a Kindle link. I do not know if it is yet available. Last time when we were reading the first book in this series, there were some issues with getting copies elsewhere, especially for those who don't have a Kindle like me. So I went ahead and got a thrift store version, and it was only about $3. Sometimes you can find them cheaper. This is the second book in the series. Unfortunately, I no longer have the first book, otherwise I would begin there. This series is dinosaur erotica, and I've grown to enjoy, perhaps morbidly, these kinds of monster porn and other sorts of literature. Not necessarily because they are well written, although some are, simply for entertainment value. And there's nothing wrong with that. But again, it's better when you can share it with others. So, because I don't actually know anybody near me who is interested in this sort of thing, I'm going to share it with you. You're welcome, and I'm sorry. So what I'm thinking is we'll just go chapter by chapter. I'll keep an eye on the time. I don't want to make these videos too long. I would much rather have multiple videos than them go much longer than 15 minutes. And, you know, with books, it's hard to tell. There might be a particularly long bit where I really just need to speak my mind loudly, vociferously. We'll play it by ear. I'm sure things will change as I understand things a little bit better, and hopefully don't have to do this in my kitchen where anyone and everyone can interrupt me. So let's begin. Eternal Cravings. I feel like I should tell you that I've already read the first 2 chapters, so my reactions will be a bit more studied than they will be later. I was actually at the beginning of chapter 3 when I realized that there was no way I was going to make it through this book alone. So let us begin. Chapter 1. Kill. It was a primal scream filling his mind, blocking out things he should understand, remember. Kill. It was heat and rage and a pounding in his head demanding more, and still more death. It blazed hot and hungry, devouring him from the inside out. But nothing could burn away what lived in his soul. His beast was free. No way was he forcing it back into its cave when there was still a demon left to tear apart. Shedding all human thoughts, he mounted his primitive soul for a last wild ride. The demon was in its true form as it flapped leathery wings and rose above him. All its supernatural powers were useless against his beast, so now the demon was playing its last card, a straight-up physical attack. Dumbass. That is not an editorial, that is right there. The demon plunged toward him, and he roared as he rose to meet it. It screamed, a long cry of shock and pain as he ripped one of those wings away. Its dark, thick blood flowed sluggishly across the churned-up grass and dirt. The smell of demon blood drove him wild. Before the creature could scuttle away from him, he ripped off the other wing. Now all it could do was flop around helplessly. It had all been too easy. In a killing frenzy, he ripped the creature to shreds, refusing to quit even after the demon's dying screams had ended. "It's over, Al. Control your soul. Come back to us." The voice in his head should make sense to him. He knew that, but he resisted. Come back? What if he didn't want to? Breathing hard, he looked around for more living bodies to tear, rend, destroy. Only a river of blood could drown the pain, the confusion, the need for never-ending violence. "The killing is done. Obey me." No, the killing would never be done. He looked down on the human standing by the tree, the one talking in his head. He didn't want anyone telling him to stop. He'd kill this one next. Then the voice would stop. The one that made him think, the one responsible for all those hated new human emotions. He took a step toward the man. With no warning, an invisible force slammed into him. The earth shook as he crashed to the ground. Panicked, he fought to rise. Primitive instincts screamed at him to get up before something bigger and badder killed him, but the force held him down. The voice spoke again. "Calm down." He remembered. The voice had a name. Finn. "Everything will be okay, Al." He had a name. Al. "I wouldn't lie to you." Sure he would. It seemed like the murmur of Finn's voice had always been in his mind, even across the endless ocean of time. Finn had promised that together they could defeat the destroyers, that all would be as it was before. He'd make it happen. See now, Al had a basic problem with that promise because his world hadn't had any destroyers, other than Al, that is, and Al's efforts had been strictly local, driven purely by the need to feed. Then Finn had ripped Al's essence from his body and buried it deep in the earth. Al should have known better than to trust a voice in his head. "You're human now, so it's time to return to human form. You'll get a chance to hunt again." Right. Finn had promised Al would walk the earth as the hunter he once was. He'd laid that lie on him just after he'd roused Al's soul from its long sleep far below Machu Picchu and given it a new body. Not the body Al wanted. Although, to be fair, does any of us get the body that we want? So, welcome to humanity. Afterward, Finn had stuffed Al's brain with every bit of knowledge he'd need to function in this new time. Except maturity, apparently. Finn had promised that Al was human now, but he'd lied. Again, Al didn't feel human. He felt trapped. It's legit. And Finn's lies kept on coming. He'd promised that Al and the rest of the 11 would be happy here once they defeated the immortals who wanted to destroy the human race. Evidently, these were the same immortals who had destroyed Al's world. Even though Al couldn't remember the event in question, Finn expected him to believe it had gone down just like he'd described. Fat chance of that. Besides, Al didn't give a flip about the freaking human race, and he'd never be happy here. So there, Dad. Up until now, Al had held it all together, fooled everyone into thinking he was okay with chasing the immortals from city to city with only brief fights to break the monotony. He'd stayed in control, but not tonight. Demons had been the fuse, and the battle his flame. He was ready to blow. "Put your soul away before I have to hurt you." Al tried to hold on to his soul, his true identity. He twisted and fought Finn's compulsion, but suddenly he was back in his human form. Filled with bone-deep disappointment, he climbed slowly to his feet and took a deep breath, reaching for the brittle shell of calm he pulled around him when others were near. Not that it would do any good. Everyone had just seen how close to the edge he was. Meltdowns weren't pretty. Al wasn't ready to meet anyone's gaze. He stared at the ground. Blood always looked black at night, even demon blood, especially demon blood. Too bad that's all that was left of the fight, just a few patches of black soaking into the earth. Not very satisfying. Al wanted bodies. Lots and lots of beautiful, dead bodies. Finn moved up beside him. A good night's work. He must have decided to ignore Al's loss of control, at least for the moment. Al accepted the change of subject. Why did you come with us on this job? You could have stayed in your fancy new condo and just channeled your power through one of us. He gazed out over the dark waters of I'm not from Pennsylvania, I'm sorry, Schuylkill River, away from his leader and those weird eyes that saw way too much. This was our first battle in Philadelphia. I felt a need to celebrate the moment with a hands-on experience. Al could hear the amusement in Finn's voice. Is that all? No. Amusement gone. Boathouse Row is just down the road from here. All those boathouses lit up like Christmas trees would be a magnet to you. The humans might be gone, but that wouldn't stop you. Property damage triggers investigation. We don't need that. Al almost opened his mouth to throw a look who's talking at his leader. Finn had wiped a Houston landmark from the face of the earth in a matter of seconds. But then he thought better of it. Another human characteristic, thinking about consequences. He liked his old life, a time of unrestrained savagery when the consequences never touched him, only his prey.